Hello everyone, welcome to LexTech Meet 3.0. My name is Amok Tiwari and I am serving as a moderator for this event. Today we are discussing on the topic Cybersecurity in Metaverse. The Center for Democracy and Rule of Law cited that by 2030, about 23.5 million jobs will be on Metaverse using AR and VR, that is artificial reality and virtual realities, which makes us to wonder how secure the Metaverse in terms of security and privacy. We have among ourselves Colonel Dr. Inderjeet Singh, who is the Chief Security Officer and Head of the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence at Vara Technology. In addition to serving in the Indian Armed Forces, Mr. Inderjeet is an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and Symbiosis Institute of Management, Pune. Mr. Inderjeet is also a Doctorate of Science in Cybersecurity from Logos International University, Florida. He is working on the disruptive technologies in cybersecurity space for securing IT networks, smart cities, and critical information infrastructure. He is an experienced information systems professional with experience of more than 30 plus years across a wide spectrum of areas spanning cybersecurity operations, leadership, and influencing policy level decisions in multiple organizations. Mr. Inderjeet is also Director General at Cybersecurity Association of India, Executive Council member and Vice President at Society for Data Science (S4DS), along with other prestigious roles at national and international organizations. Dr. Inderjeet is a visionary for startup incubation, entrepreneurship development, strategic consulting, technology evaluation for commercial viability. He is a subject matter expert on the latest disruptive technologies. Mr. Inderjeet was awarded as 30 most influential Indian thought leaders in blockchain 2021 and won Cybersecurity Excellence Award in 2021. It is a pleasure to have you, Mr. Inderjeet, on our board.
Pleasure to be mine is mine to be here today. Thank you very much.
Without further ado, let us start with our first question. What are the cyber attacks Metaverse is vulnerable to and how can they be prevented? Before you share some insight over this question, Mr. Indrajit, could you shed some of your thoughts on what is your understanding of Metaverse as a cybersecurity expert?
Yeah, very important. And while we talk of the metaverse, and there are different definitions of metaverse which are already there in the on the internet and everywhere. So one really need to understand that the metaverse actually started from one of the uh, book which was been written by Snow Crash, which was written by Neil Stephenson, right? And that was the actual start of the metaverse. The thought of the metaverse started coming up, right? And primarily, metaverse is a fusion of your physical, augmented, and virtual reality. So all these things put together, and we already are knowing that that we've been speaking of that the virtual world which can be accessed via internet, and it has been like a second world which was, or the second life website which came up in 2002. That was again a start of the second life to put together, and it is a recreation of material things in the virtual world, such as your virtual projects, your virtual currencies, your virtual characters, and you put anything to it. And how can you really transfer this online environment? That is, you're going to have your own digital avatars. So everybody will have its own digital avatar, which will be identical to the real world, but it will be built on imagination, or which can be also a combination of both, right? And how do you access the metaverse? That's the biggest question which really comes up. So you will have a head mounted device, that's a virtual reality headset, and the digital avatars which you really create would provide people a closer insight into their daily lives that any social media post can. So this is how you are going to be, and it's going to be a collaborative virtual world where the currency which you're going to be using it for buying and selling, you're buying a land or building or avatar, even identities which are there, that is going to be all based on the cryptocurrency and the non-fungible tokens that are going to be commonly going to be used in the metaverse. right? So this is already there in the metaverse. It's been there for quite some time now. We are formalizing it, and actually it took shape after Facebook changed its name to Meta, and thereafter we are finding so many companies getting into the metaverse, right? And we see Microsoft, Google, Apple, a whole lot of companies, investing big time money into the metaverse. And there are whole lot of companies like Nike, Adidas, your Walmart. They're all getting the space in the metaverse to work in the metaverse area, right? So that is where the metaverse is all about. But then it is coming up with a real life challenges also, and that's how the cybercrime, the metaverse has become real, very real. So you're going to have cyber frauds, you're going to have cyber bullying, cyber cheating, and there was a rape in the metaverse. That was the most alarming, factor which was there in the metaverse. And the threat landscape which is there in the metaverse is some of it is to the identity related, where you can have the identity thefts, and like you are there in the room and somebody else can steal your identity because you are now an avatar. Somebody can impersonate you. You can somebody can do the avatar authentication of after stealing the data. He can do a credential theft on you, he can do the identity theft on you, he can do the social engineering theft on you, right? And then there are kind of the data related attacks which are coming up. Now they can do a data tampering of yours. You can have false data injection when you're there in the metaverse, right? And then the new type of data which is going to into the metaverse is again a threat, a challenge, right? And the threat to the intellectual property protection in the metaverse. So those are the kind of data related thefts. Then is the privacy related thefts which are coming up, where you have the perceived data collection which is going to happen. There are privacy in the data transmission, which is already a big challenge. Your data leakage due to privacy is another big challenge. Now you're going to be working in cloud, you're going to be in 5G, so you're going to have a challenge of the leakage in the cloud edge storage itself. There can be rogue devices which can come up, right? There can be unauthorized access which is going to be there. You can have the misuse of user or the avatar data which are coming up. Threat to the digital footprint, right? And threat to customized privacy. So these are the kind of threats which are very pertinent, very important, and we are seeing the threat landscape only increasing. That is related to your identity, your data, your privacy. Now, when it comes to your network related, because you're going to be connected on 5G, you're going to be connected on, the cloud. All those kind of attacks are also going to be the part of your network related attacks which are going to happen. Then is the economy related attacks, and like we were just talking of, the NFTs are going to be the mainstay currency, right? So somebody can steal the NFT, somebody can create a fake NFT and give it to you. There can be threat to the economy related things which are going to happen, a threat to the digital asset ownership which is going to be there. So those are the kind of challenges what we are seeing. So having said so, it's really created a huge landscape where attacks are plenty, and we really need to identify as to how we are to overcome them. One of the methodologies to overcome these kind of threats is that you should start having the identity management, you should start having the data management, you should have the privacy enhancement, you should have the situational awareness in the metaverse, you should have the physical safety and the social management, and most importantly the governance plays a most important role, right? So you should have the digital governance where you should have the new laws and the regulations for the virtual crimes.
Right, sir.
We would be something talking of a kind of meta cops in times to come, like you have the cyber cops or the normal cops in the real life, right? We have to have the regulators which will play a major role in the metaverse, because there is no one metaverse which is going to be there. There are going to be multiple metaverses which are going to come. Then there is going to be regulations around threats to collaborative governance, right? And threats to the which are related to the digital forensics. So those are the kind of governance issues which are very important, and this is only growing. We are just at the start point of the journey of the metaverse, right? So we are seeing the crimes happening, we are seeing threats really increasing. So it's a time when we really take up a holistic view of the security in the metaverse.
Very insightful, sir. Uh, you have enumerated different types of cyber threats that are in this metaverse, but I just want to dig a little deep on the data privacy issues that can be seen in metaverse. What type of data privacy issues are there, and how can we prevent ourselves from those issues?
So interestingly, one of the studies which came up by the Citibank, where it's told that the metaverse economy would be almost 8 trillion to 13 trillion by 2030, right?
Exactly.
And there'll be almost 5 billion users which are going to be there. And just imagine now, if you look at in the real world, you have number of people who are there on the social media, and it's going to be a next generation of the internet. So you have the three kind of challenges which are going to come up when it comes to the data privacy part of it. One, I'll say at the three ends of the metaverse. One is the monitoring users, one is the manipulating users, and third is the monetizing users. So, like in a social media, you track, each click and what you buy, whom you communicate, what are you browsing. So that's what we do in the social media. And when we monitor a person in the metaverse, where he's going, where you are looking in the metaverse because you're an avatar. Now, where are you looking? uh, how long your gaze lingers. It can also track your gait, it can also track your posture, your emotions, your interests, which were never been captured earlier, and it can also track what you do. Now, coming on to monitoring your facial expressions. You're in the metaverse, and it's actually the augmented reality, the virtual reality plays a major role, and you have a haptic suit which you're wearing. It gives you the power of the system to know your facial expression. It can know your vocal inflections. It can monitor your vital signs like your heart rate, your respiration rate, your pupil dilation, your galvanic skin response. Just imagine what all it can monitor, right? And it's on a privacy concern, and it's going to take much more. It can monitor your whole life, what you do, say, experience, you feel. So that's what you are being monitored for, right? And then when you come into the monetization part of it, and that's where data privacy again plays a major role. Today, your data is being sold, to the ad companies by the social media, right, where data privacy at risk. Here
Yeah.
also, you are a product on the metaverse, and you're no more a customer on the metaverse. So that is how you're going to be on the metaverse altogether, right? Then what all you can do is the AI agent which is there, which controls the avatars, and it can engage in any conversation which is there, and it can make you talk anything which is already there. Then it can access the data of your history, pertaining to your history, your likes, your wants, your needs, your tendencies. It can analyze your emotions, right? So that is the monitoring, and they will pitch you more skillfully than your car salesman. Whenever you're getting onto the metaverse, they can do the have a marketing. So that is how, in the present sense, when your data is being sold on the social media, it's the same way they're going to be utilizing this data. Now, when it comes to manipulating the data, so like I told you, the AR and the VR, which play a major role, they can use the deep fakes to create your personality. And there are already AI algorithms called GAN, right, which is already there, which can create deep fake of the people who are not even there. And if you're able to take this kind of data, which we had enunciated earlier, it's going to be a problem, because it has your facial expressions, it got its vocal inflections, your posture, your vital signs, everything, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is the challenge what we are going to have, right? So it's going to monitor you, monetize you, manipulate you the way they want in the metaverse, and it's a big challenge for us today as regards the data privacy is concerned.
Sure, sir. So, if you say that it's a challenge, it's also a blessing in some kind of view. Some kind of incidents have been reported that an Apple Watch called upon an ambulance if he sees that the wearer is in life-threatening danger, is involved in an accident. We heard one such events recently. Also, as you mentioned, that data can be sold to advertisement agencies. The same has been enumerated in recent article by Elliptic. Also, if we summarize all these kind of scenarios, we can come up with one simple statement that technology can be boon for some incidents, whereas it can be bane for others. So moving on, we were discussing on the privacy issues of a real person, but it is seen that the concept of virtual privacy is coming up in discussion on the among social networking sites. That what is virtual privacy? Why will the present privacy laws that protects real person's privacy will not suffice with privacy of requirements of avatars in metaverse? Could you throw some light upon this
Yeah, of
particular
course,
aspect?
and very rightly you brought every technology has its advantages and disadvantages. We use it for its advantages, negating its disadvantages for that matter. And virtual privacy is very important. Well, we spoke of the attacks, we spoke of the data privacy and the virtual privacy. And where does the virtual privacy really comes in? It actually is the risks which are emanating from your augmented reality and the virtual reality itself, right? And the augmented reality, when we talk of, it's responsible for many prominent metaverse security risks, especially pertaining to the virtual privacy of the users. And what are the kind of security risks which it throws? So the risks which are there are what happens to the user privacy if a hacker compromises the augmented reality device itself.
Right.
How will your augmented reality firms use and safeguard the data collected from users? Right? And where do businesses, they actually store augmented reality data, which is going to be really huge today. In the present form today, you know where your data is, or you don't know where your data is. But in the case of the metaverse, you are in as an avatar. You're getting into a metaverse. The data is being stored by somewhere else, right? And you don't know the location of data and what are the encryption methods which are being used for encrypting the data. And you really don't know whether the augmented reality company will share the data with a third party company and what for what purpose, right? So this is going to throw a major challenge altogether, which we never thought of it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And if you thought that the augmented reality is the only culprit in the metaverse for the security issues, we really need to think again, because virtual reality is also responsible for many notable privacy issues in the metaverse, right?
Yes, sir.
And what are the challenges in that case? Because when you have a virtual reality headset, the data which is obtained is like you have the biometric data, your fingerprints, your retina, your scan, your voice prints, your facial geometry. That's very important, which can lead to many privacy concerns with the virtual reality itself, which we never thought of. Okay, and most prominent virtual privacy risk is due to the virtual reality technologies could be the ransomware,
Yes.
identity theft, loss of human connection, right? So these are the kind of virtual privacy attacks which are going to be there, the challenges which are going to be thrown at us in the due course of time.
Sure, sir. So, moving on to our fourth question, as we have seen that some fake NFTs are used in Metaverse to cipher money and bypass owners' wallet address. What due diligences would you think that Metaverse Corporation have to do while listing those NFTs or any NFTs in their platforms?
Right, and actually the NFTs are the epicenter for the metaverse economy.
It is.
And we already saw in the month of February 2022 cyber attackers stole hundreds of NFT worth 1.7 billion from a platform that's OpenSea, right? And it actually caused a lot of panic amongst the user. And we're already seeing a lot of NFT scams, like selling the fake NFT, which are there, right? So this is again a thing which we are already looking at it, trying to address that. And some of the recorded scams that have already taken place are, kind of in the NFT. There are smart contracts. Remember that. So they include the smart contracts where the victims are fooled into authorizing a transaction, right? Where they give all the malicious actor the full access to their crypto wallets, and in turn losing all their tokens and the cryptocurrency. So we are seeing that kind of attacks also happening. And what another challenge what we are seeing is that some blockchain users can pose as a legitimate brands, including banks and other financial institutions, in order to defraud people of their money. So these are the kind of challenges what we are already seeing it. And hackers, they are trying to steal NFTs while also attempting to sell zero-day exploits as tokens. So these are all the methodologies what they're using it, right? And they're also selling the fake NFTs, like I told you, telling them that it's a pretty kind of a valid NFT,
Hmm.
right? And what we actually need to do is have to take lots of corrective measure to safeguard these kind of things. One methodology one can use it that always do a due diligence before buying NFT. Don't get into the fake NFT. You need to research the marketplace and the seller and look up the art scans. The scams are booming, so you need to really look into that. If you think your company is entering the market, discuss whether or not the investment is worth, or you're going to be at risk, right? So you need to take a note of that. And other important is that you should have a layer of defense, like your two-factor authentication and machine learning to boot out unauthenticated users, your bots, high-risk online identities. So that you really need to look at. You also need to note any unseen devices which often pose risk in the metaverse, right? And the other factor is that enabling browser and the device fingerprinting to weed out any fake users in the metaverse. And like one of the example is that some metaverses will be available on multiple devices, which may cause problem if you rely only on one. So there are lots of methods where you can try to safeguard your NFTs and browse safely in the metaverse.
Certainly, sir. Interoperability is the main issue that you are referring to while accessing metaverse through various devices, I believe.
So yes, so like I told you that you will not have a single metaverse, you'll have
Hmm.
multiple metaverses. So what is more important is, like in your physical life, you have an identity. So
Hmm.
your metaverses service provider should be capable of interoperable avatars.
Hmm.
Like if you have an avatar in one metaverse, it should be working in the other metaverse. Similarly, the NFT transactions, if it is working in one metaverse, it should be working in the other metaverse, right? And the similar kind of transaction methodologies which are there in the metaverses. So interoperability is the most important, and also like I initially spoke of, the identity theft, your data security, all those things should also be interoperable, where people have to be given the similar kind of security, right, while they're traversing to different methods, right? So that's most important.
Yes, sir. So to conclude that we have major issues of data privacy and security in such a nascent technology, and we are lagging behind on our data protection bill (PDP) bill. Uh, it is very important to come up with such bill and make it an act in this present scenario to safeguard ourselves from data leakages and privacy issues. These for
And the final line I would like to say is, metaverse is always going to happen, and it's going to transform society in next 10 years or so, if all goes well. And the problems will be similar, but much worse than today's social media problems. You got to be really very careful of it. And actually, it's now is the time to think about the metaverse regulations, right? And be very safe in the metaverse.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Inderjeet, for joining us today and giving us your valuable time. It was an insightful session, and we hope that our viewers get some insights on the topic. Thank you, sir. For
Thank
our
you very much.
audience, if you have any questions or doubts, you can always put them in the comments below. We will be happy to answer and forward it to Dr. Inderjeet, sir, for any appropriate specific questions. For more details and such discussions, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.